mission statement, we are proud to present our latest revision. It encompasses a tagline which reads, ICS Parlament, a non-profit partnership organization with emphasis on human rights and cultural diversity, as well as the mission statement, the International Court System Parliament, ICSP, is representation of a partnership of charitable, tax-exempt, non-profit organizations that is dedicated to promoting empowerment of people, continued support to local communities, and respect for cultural diversity. The ICSP focuses its funding on committed grassroots organizations that rely strongly on volunteer efforts and where the ICSP will make significant difference. The ICSP is an international partnership of over 65 individual social and community service organizations bound together in shared structure, policies, and goals, with over 4,600 constituents serving Canada, Mexico, and the United States of America. That's basically what our committee came up with and have submitted for your acceptance. As far as the trifold, we had intentions of submitting a short survey via the internet, but unfortunately due to other commitments and obligations, we failed to do so, and we made no progress on the trifold.
Madam, would you like to say something?
I have a question and a concern. In all due respects, how many members were in your committee?
There was 4.
Were any Canadian?
No, ma'am.
Okay. I have noticed as this meeting has progressed, and I think our Canadian brothers and sisters are world known for their politeness, but the truth of the matter is we are still talking about, in all due respects as the speakers, because I want to make it very clear, and I know that none of you in this room are doing anything to disrespecting our Canadian courts, but in many ways we continue to do so. There are not 68 corporations or nonprofits in our international court system. There are corporations and societies. We have to start using, it's just like with the Canadians, and how would we like if we kept saying, well, the provinces, and we go, well, we're not provinces, we're states. And that is stated in this room. We have to start using, if we are going to be an international organization, which we are, we're going to have to be respectful of each of our countries and our heritage. So, and this is in no way meant to disrespect any, because those speakers that have spoken, and you and the honorable member from San Francisco have obviously done a lot of hard work. But it's a two-way street for our Canadian members of Parliament. You must get involved in these committees, and you must be co-chairs of the committee. So my advice from now on as we go forward, that something like is so important as a branding or thing, that there has to be a Canadian co-chair. And absolutely, to give the Canadian perspective into this. Because if we don't, we're going to continue to go under this assumption, then we might as well call ourselves the International Court System of the United States. That's not what it's about. So once again, and my closing is that there's societies, and you should hear how some of you come across. Trust me, I know our Canadian brothers and sisters. Don't think they're bashful and shy. They're just, their makeup of Canadians is that they're very wonderful people who don't get into many arguments. But when they get back to Canada, obviously they have a discussion. But for us to sit back and say things of the sort that, well, we're corporations and stuff, to even tell their societies, we're going to help you to do this and that, because we'll show you the way Americans do it. You haven't said that, but sitting here, and I've talked to some Canadians, that's what you sound like. We're going to show you, big United States, how to do something. Now, sharing some of these, like the baby shower, that is such a fabulous idea. Be very sensitive on how you relate these ideas, and remember you are relating them, because Mexico, and there's some great news coming down concerning the expansion of our courts in Mexico, but that'll be for another day. We will soon be very active, 3 countries. Now, how do we discuss that? And you think the laws of Canada and the United States are different. Can you imagine when Mexico becomes an active part of this component? Ay Dios, you know. So what I'm saying is, and I want to make it perfectly clear, I know no one is meaning to disrespect or but we've got to start talking that way. And even that presentation, I think you realize that you just made said nonprofit. Well, slash society wise, because then that is getting a nod to the reality of Canada. But at the same time, Canadians, you need to speak out. This is the third session where I had to speak out about Canada. So I know that you all have some, well, that's not the word, we have ladies present, but I know that you all are here representing your thing, and you need to stand up and raise your hand and say, in all due respects, society, in all due respects, we're not a nonprofit, and think so. Could you have the language pertain to us? Thank you so very much for listening.
Is there any other questions or concerns? Seeing none, I yield the floor to...
All right, we have gone through all the committee reporting. We have taken care of that portion of the business. Our next portion of the business is going to be some actions. I have a couple things to inform all of you about. Number one, we made an error in the count for how many courts are present today. We have 44 courts, chapter courts present at this session. With that number of 44, ladies and gentlemen, that means we have a supermajority and we can take as much action as we wish today. With that said, part of one of the duties that has been granted to me by my position as Speaker of the House is the power to create a committee. Understanding everything that we've talked about this morning, understanding our lively discussions this afternoon, I would like to charge this Parliament to create a committee, and we're going to call it the Blue Ribbon Task Force on Canadian and American Affairs, or Canada and U.S. Affairs. We can work the semantics. But I call this Parliament to create a committee, a Blue Ribbon Task Force on Canadian and U.S. Affairs. So, this committee, I would like to have an equal number of Canadian members and an equal number of American members to continuously harmonize the language that we're talking about, the reports that we're delivering, and the discussions that we have. So, I would like to offer up to you anybody who would like to chair it. I'd like an American chair and a Canadian chair. I see the distinguished, I can't see which. All right, we've got Surrey and Tacoma. All right. Surrey and Tacoma would like to chair this. All right, let's get another American chapter and another Canadian chapter. Halifax from Canada and Minnesota. All right, so let the record show we've got it chaired by Tacoma and Surrey. 2 members are Halifax and Minnesota. Anybody else want to join in? Another Canadian chapter and another American chapter? And if there's none, that's fine. What we'll do is we as officers will work with you to get more people on your committee. And what we're going to do, this committee, your entire job is extremely important to make sure that we are harmonizing what we're doing in this chamber. That we ensure that we understand that we are addressing nonprofits and we are addressing societies. We are doing things under state laws and we are doing things under provincial laws, and so on and so forth. Thank you very much. Let's give ourselves a round of applause. All right, so now we are at debate and vote. So we'll start off with the dual monarchy. First of all, I would like to ask Her Majesty if you'd like to just talk about your dual monarchy.
I think that all of you heard me during my address, wise, and certainly this discussion is now here, and you should feel very free. Trust me on this, because for those of you who didn't know, and those of many of you were here, at the last session of Parliament, you made it quite clear that you wanted one of my proclamations for a vote. Which I did. So it is not, though I'm sitting here, if you disagree on issues with me, This is the people's house, so you can disagree. I've already made my statements concerning why I believe that the successors, yes, there should be two successors to me to make this work, or else I believe that a reign of the king father, a sole monarch, could end up being from 6 months to a year as they find out they have no life and no lover after a while and no job. You know, so that's the thing. But there might be some other opinions or outlooks on this, and then I'll just close it on this. You might say, let's not take the time. Oh, well, well, how do they? Because I heard this. Well, what if they don't get along, and what if this and that? Obviously, we just need a vote if you support the idea of this. Once you do, obviously, we're going to create in the council our task force to spell it all out, to get the ifs and buts, and bring it back to Parliament so you can discuss and tweak it or destroy it or whatever that you wish to do. But but if you do have questions, because obviously I have ideas how this would work, feel very free to ask me. Thank you.
All right, we'll take a list of queue of speakers and start off with San Francisco. Oh, yeah. All right, we'll start off with San Francisco Imperial.
I have a quick question. Does the ICS currently have any kind of framework in place about what the roles will be? Do we have anything? I think it's important for us to understand what those roles might entail. And secondly, can we have some input from Parliament, members of Parliament, be part of that process and ironing out what those roles might be?
As I stated earlier, when I first presented this to the ICC and my heirs, the discussion obviously was, and then once the discussion, and it was a lengthy discussion of this being able to work, and the 5 million questions came up. And I said, well, before we even start building this, we need to know if there's a support, and I understand. So what I would say is that you're either voting, and the word as you may, for the concept of it, not saying that it's a permanent thing, and I'm glad that the honorable member from San Francisco brought that up, because I think that if you vote up and down without knowing what exactly is, but I think you all have kind of an idea and a concept. Yeah, I think I'd like dual monarchs. No, I think we should continue with one sole monarch. Now, your proposal that there be a joint task force from Parliament and the ICC is definitely something I would take to the heirs and the president of the council, and we're meeting, I think, in a month or so in Nebraska. And so we could do that and I believe that we've always said that once you give proposals to the heirs and the council, I'm sure they'll listen, and I think it's doable. Why should we both go back and forth? Why don't we just jointly have a task force to work that out? But that is only, of course, if there is a consensus that maybe we should look into having the dual and how that'll work out. I want you to know that Empress Jackie, the chair of this committee, has sent out to all your courts. And once again, it's that lack of returning or communication, because all the courts got a letter, including email, stating, we would like your board, your college, and your membership to vote and see if they support a dual monarchy or a single. How many have you gotten these and have responded? You see, some of you have, and some of you haven't. So I will direct Coco to do it one more time to send it out. But if we don't get input or stuff, that is a right of giving all the courts to give us the input. And not only think about it, not just your court, your college, your board, and your membership. 3 votes out of every court to let us know how you're feeling on this issue. And some have split wise on it.
Okay. All right, I just was informed of a point of order from the distinguished, the honorable individual from Colorado Springs, that there actually is no motion on the floor. We're discussing something for which there's no motion. Colorado Springs?
Speaker of the House, I'd like to make a motion that we accept the proposal of dual monarchy.
All right, is there a second in the House? Seconded by Minnesota. All right, and now let's go back into discussion. Any discussion, comments? All right. All right. To grab into the situation and this type of vote, we're actually going to do a roll call vote. So I don't hear any more discussion. We'll start a roll call vote, and I'm going to ask the Deputy Prime Minister to call off each of the different courts in attendance, and the Executive Secretary shall record the responses.
Alameda, California.
Aye.
Alaska.
Aye.
Arizona.
Aye.
Austin, Texas. Buffalo, New York.
Aye.
Calgary, Alberta.
Aye.
Chico, California. Colorado Springs.
Aye.
Connecticut.
Aye.
Corpus Christi.
Aye.
Denver, Colorado.
Aye.
Everett, Washington.
Aye.
Fort Worth.
Aye.
Fresno.
Aye.
Halifax, Nova Scotia.
Aye.
Hawaii.
Aye.
Houston, Texas.
Aye.
Iowa.
Repeat. Aye. Houston. They were ayes.
Las Vegas, Nevada.
Aye.
Lexington, Kentucky.
Aye.
London, Depot.
Aye.
Los Angeles, California.
Aye.
Minnesota.
Aye.
Modesto, California.
Aye.
Nebraska.
Aye.
New York.
Aye.
Orange County, California.
Aye.
Portland, Oregon.
Aye.
Reno, Nevada.
Aye.
Sacramento.
Aye.
Salem, Oregon.
Aye.
Salt Lake, Utah.
Aye.
San Antonio, Texas.
Aye.
San Diego, California.
Aye.
San Francisco, California.
Aye.
San Jose, California.
Aye.
Seattle, Washington.
Aye.
Spokane, Washington.
Aye.
Stockton, California.
Aye.
Surrey, British Columbia.
Aye.
Tacoma, Washington.
Aye.
Toronto, Ontario.
Aye.
Vancouver, Washington.
Aye.
And Waco, Texas.
And the votes have been tallied as unanimous.
So, first of all, thank you very much, because this has been very important to me, and I want you to make it very clear that many of the things I do and many of the positions I take actually are not about me. They're about my successor and the continuation of this court system. I want to make sure that whoever follows me does not have to go what Jose and I went through. Wise. It is a smooth transition, and it is people that will get in there and know exactly what to do. At the same time, let's make it I want to make it very clear what you have just done. What you have just done is make sure that upon this dual monarchy, that the possibilities is very great that there will be a Canadian heir or a Canadian to succeed me, and also my dream, personally, that a woman, a female, will succeed. Those odds are much greater, Wise, and I am very grateful because the council, and not to say these gentlemen and ladies that are here, because some of them are new and weren't in the discussion, was very adamantly against this. And it's in all due respect, it's a kind of a thing, this is not what you're used to, and maybe it's a sharing of authority or power. But what you've done is make sure that once it's a more democratic and more equally representative of the diversity of our court system. And I commit to you that I will push firmly within the council that as the representative from San Francisco, that this task force be comprised of both
members of the ICC, heir apparents, and members of your of the Parliament. That is my commitment to make sure that happens. Thank you.
All right, from the design committee, we have, the design committee's conclusion was that the cost of sashes be picked up by the individual courts. Distinguished delegate from San Antonio.
I do apologize, Mr. Speaker, I misspoke. The sashes would be $25 with the design, with the Parliament seal on them. $20 without the seal, $25 with the seal.
Okay, $20 without the seal, $25 with the seal. Do we want to take any action, Portland?
I make a motion that we accept.
All right, the honorable delegation from Portland motions to accept the design committee recommendation, seconded by Austin. Let's go into discussion. Colorado Springs? There's a microphone right behind you.
The Honorable Member of Portland, could you please, in reference to your motion, can you tell me which one?
With the logo. With the seal. With the seal.
I'm sorry, I did not communicate to you correctly. Which company are we going with?
Pride sash.
Right size. Okay, thank you.
I have a comment from Nebraska.
No, I don't have a comment. Okay.
Amendment.
Yeah, we go with the company Pride Sash with the actual logo on the sash.
All right, the amended motion is to accept the design committee recommendation for the sash with the logo with Pride Sash. And the amendment is to go with Pride Sash and the logo. And the amendment is seconded by Alameda Imperial. Discussions? San Francisco Imperial?
There was some discussion before about medallions as well. We're talking about two separate issues?
We are talking about two separate issues. The medallions issue is now off the floor through the grace and the generosity of the Imperial Court de Fresno Madera. Colorado Springs?
I'm sorry, I have to ask also, the $25, does that include the shipping to the home court? Once you receive the sash, make sure it is provided. And my other question would be, if the courts themselves have voted to pay for this, what time zone are you giving for the checks to be given, and who will be controlling that aspect of it, so we have money to pay?
I believe the recommendation from the committee is that each individual court will take care of it on their own, in that they will place the order with Pride Sash.
You have to get that price, am I correct? That has to be ordered at one time.
Right. Mr. Singh?
I would be 100% honest with you. Joe took care of this, and I did not know I was going to be doing this report today. As I understand it, that price is for all of the sashes to be ordered at once and shipped to Las Vegas, which is where the honorable member from Las Vegas resides. So I honestly cannot tell you if there would be additional shipping or not from Las Vegas.
I'm sorry. I honestly cannot tell you if there would be additional shipping charges from Vegas to our home courts or not, because I was not part of that specific. I don't know if Joe thought that far ahead, to be honest with you. So there might be an additional shipping charge. But yes, the order has to be placed as one order. So it would not be each individual court sending an order into Pride Sash. It would be each individual court, and how the ICS and the ICSP wants to handle that aspect of it is, I believe, up to them.
For response to that, I'm going to defer to His Excellency the Prime Minister of Salt Lake next to the queue.
In regards to the sash question, really the question is, are you guys going to take it back and have your courts pay for it? Somewhat, not so much the price, but the fact that to be able to wear it, that you would take on the responsibility of the individual courts to purchase it. That's really the question. Not so much what the deal is and where it's being shipped to.
Colorado Springs?
I'm sorry, I did not take that as this proposal. I did not understand it. At this time, I understand this proposal was we are agreeing should this pass in as much as we have talked and worked on it, maybe I was putting the cart before the horse. Maybe we should go ahead and approve this and take it to the next stage of giving the time zone, getting the checks, who's going to take control of that and making sure it goes.
I will speak to answer that. As your officers, I think we would be happy to coordinate all of that, as long as this chamber agrees to it.
Yes.
Does that help? Thank you. Iowa?
If, my question is, if our friends from Fresno who were most generously donated a medallion, why have a stash? It's, you know, it's one more thing that you've got to wear. If you've got a medallion, why have a stash?
New York?
I believe the sash belongs to the court itself. And therefore, if I decide not to continue being Parliament and the election goes to someone else, I pass the sash on to the next person. It's the court's property. It's the court's, and it's our responsibility to maintain it, but it goes to the next one. Does the medallion belong to us as an individual gift?
But the same thing can be said with a medallion. The medallion that, you know, if when Fresno hands that off to us in Iowa, then it will go to whoever comes to this after us. I mean, I really think we have a medallion. Why have a sash?
Anybody want to tackle that one? All right, let's do this. I'm going to give it to San Antonio first, then Salt Lake City, then San Francisco and third.
Again, I can only speak on what the committee itself was thinking. What was stated earlier is correct. The medallion, because of the polling numbers that we got back, the medallion was going to be purchased by the individuals, where the sashes were going to be purchased by the individual kingdoms, by the courts. So that was the thought of the design committee. Keep in mind, we are the design committee, so all we did was design this. It's up to this respective body as to what they want to do with those designs. All we did was design them.
Salt Lake City?
On that, I've been in talk with Joe a few times, and the ideas come out also that if you choose not to wear the medallion, that's your choice, and you can not purchase the medallion. You would still it would still be part of the representation of to wear the sash, and that would be required. And then if you want to wear the medallion, if you want to purchase the medallion, then you can purchase the medallion also. And also on the question before, with talking with Joe, from Colorado Springs, we were talking about the cost and who would pay, and that hasn't been discussed yet because we were just trying to get through this first part of designing it and getting that passed first, and then we would set up how to do the other part, go into the second phase of it, of actually collecting the money, setting up who would collect, where it would go, where they would ship to, that sort of thing.
All right, San Francisco Imperial?
I just had a brief comment, because when the poll came out, I was under the impression, and what I went back to my board with was, which one do we want to participate in? And my board approved a medallion, and they did not approve the sash. So,
Okay. My memory may or may not serve me correctly, but when we were assembled at the second session in San Antonio, there was quite a lot of discussion and debate regarding this. And I think a lot of the motivation behind it was there's a difference between wearing that big old huge sash versus a medallion. Medallion can be worn practically anywhere to designate your membership in a body. The sash, and I do distinctly remember this, because let's all remember we're all in this game of regality and everything, and when we walk in front of a room at a coronation, and we walk, we want to be recognized for being members of Parliament. And I believe the sash was the expression of being a member of this body. The medallion is an expression of an individual having served in the body. Does that make sense? Okay? Does anybody not, I remember that from San Antonio. All right, Salem? Yes.
So, actually, you bring up another point of this conversation. So now we have, let's say that we do approve the medallions. So, the
Medallions are not.
medallions are a done deal. Work with me, just work with me. So,
Can I have a point of order, Mr. Speaker?
Point of order, Mexico.
I'd like to remind my honorable members that usually comments are directed to the chair and from the chair. Usually parliamentary members should not be discussing issues across the table to each other.
Okay.
It should be directed to and from the chair.
All right. Continue back to me.
so my concern now comes that this symbol of the medallion, now that this is our last Parliament member as active Parliament members, is that going to confuse our individual communities, our individual discussions, wherever we're at? We have one person with a sash, and we have previous members of Parliament who have a medallion.
I believe, in answer to your question, I believe that's the same as the distinction between a reigning monarch and a former monarch. Reigning monarchs have the ability to wear certain things like white crowns and so forth. Past monarchs have to, bring it down in deference to the reigning. So that medallion would be a signification that you served in the Parliament body. The statute is that you are at least servant of the Parliament body at the current time.
Thank you.
Acceptable? Okay. Photos?
Not to complicate things, and I think we're kind of beating a dead horse here, but I would like to get clarification from Fresno as far as those medallions that they have purchased. Maybe we need clarification from Fresno as to whether those are a gift from Fresno to the current sitting members of Parliament, or the medallions that Fresno purchased. Are they to replace the medallions that the design committee was discussing?
The honorable member from Fresno may correct me if I mistake this, but I believe that it was a gift of the host court of the third session of Parliament to the sitting members of the third session of Parliament.
Okay, and I think that's probably where some of us are getting confused here, so that we are all clear that the topic of medallions is not a dead issue, so to speak, because this is a gift from Fresno to the current sitting members of Parliament.
Right.
So just to get clarification on that,
Right.
What I'm hearing, I think we've gotten a little confused on
And the
this.
clarification goes back to the report from the honorable gentleman from San Antonio. And pardon me. The findings of the committee, the recommendations of the committee are that the sashes are financed and become the property of the court. The medallions may be purchased by individuals to designate their service. So the recommendation from the committee is not that the courts are buying medallions, although the courts may buy the medallions as much as they want. The recommendation from the committee is that the courts have a passed down sash to indicate the sitting members of Parliament at walks and at coronations and so forth. Am I correct in that, sir? All right. More comments, questions? Bryce? No. Thank you, Modesto.
I'm understanding that each organization is $25, but you have to purchase 100?
No, we would, I believe the recommendation from the committee is that collectively we all place the order at the same time for the certain number. What was the number of the order placed, Mr. Smith?
It was based on a order of 130 sashes, meaning
130 would be 65.
65 courts.
We would probably have to bump that up to 138 to accommodate 67 members, or 67 chapter courts. So that would mean each court should buy 2 sashes to have their members.
Okay, the other question I have on that one is that what if individual courts wish not to purchase sashes? Will we still be able to get the $25 price as quoted by?
I'm sorry, I'm not quite following. You're saying, what if the individual courts don't want to purchase, but then still want to enjoy the discount?
Could the rest of us enjoy the $25 discount if other courts choose not to purchase anything from their organization?
interesting question.
I'll give you an example. Representatives of Boise, they're not here, and we all know what happened last year with them. Are they going to purchase sashes for the Parliament? And is that going to reduce the price that you guys have gotten for us?
Right, I think I see where you're going. I need to move on that for just a second. New York?
I believe that we need to buy enough sashes to have them available, whether a court wishes to buy them or not.
I believe, oh, I'm sorry.
That's all right.
I believe that we need to have enough sashes available to all courts.
Yes.
Simple. Maybe even buy a few extras because another court may form in 2 years.
Yes.
I think that we have to have enough court sashes available whether someone chooses to purchase or wear them.
Okay. This issue's getting a little exotic at this point. So I'm going to entertain just a couple more comments, and then I'm actually going to redirect back to the honorable delegation from San Antonio with a specific question. Calgary?
When I have walked with my member of parliament, it has been scratched. I've only been allowed one title, one walk. So, are we going to, so some places we're not even allowed to walk as a member of parliament, so why have a sash?
All right. I see where you're going with the question. Actually, I'm going to take this and directly address Her Majesty.
I think that you have all been getting brochures that say one walk, one title per personal day, but then it says, except those titles that have been given by Jose or myself. All of you, these titles are by me, by my pleasure, by establishing Parliament. So, I want to make it very clear, and I'm glad you brought this on, because I know, and let's be honest, we know this is only the third session. You know, not all courts are on board, but let me tell you, you should feel very good. For 40, how many courts are there?
67. Oh, compared to Nate's 44.
Okay, there are 3 coronations going on this month. Fresno, Everett, and I believe New Mexico, is that right? Okay, 3 coronations, and I must salute Everett. Where's Everett? You have a coronation that sent someone, even though they have a coronation. That being said, think about it. There's 42 courts here, and this is only our 3rd session, and we're up against 3 coronations. I mean, when I realized we were approved 3 coronation, I thought, oh, we'll be lucky if we get 20 or 30 courts. So the truth of the matter is, can you imagine once the word gets out, and it will, of your accomplishments and what has been happening here, then I can see the next session. So, Rhonda, there are people, and people who are playing games, but trust me, as soon as I find out about them, so the truth is, all of you, if someone scratches your thing, you should say, well, these are my position as a member of Parliament, and my title is called Her Majesty's Parliament, so it is a title from Nicole and the Queen Mother wise. So that should not happen, and you should raise a ruckus. Or give me a cell call from there, and then let me speak to the MC.
All right. Tacoma. Tacoma moves to close the debate. All right, I'm going to address one question to the delegation from San Antonio.
That would be out of order, thank you.
Okay, then we're closing the debate.
It's been seconded.
Okay, so are we calling the question?
Second question. Who was it seconded by?
Seconded by Sacramento.
Can you reread the motions and amendment?
Okay, I hope to get this right. The motion on the floor is to accept the recommendation from the delegation of San Antonio, from the design committee, to have individual courts purchase their sash from Pride Sash with the Parliament logo, 2 sashes per court, to be the property of the court as a representation of the current seated members of Parliament representing the chapter court.
Speaker of the House. No, that
Call
was
the
not,
roll,
I'm sorry, Speaker, that was not the proposal that we understood. The proposal was to order, we have to order it all to get that price. We cannot order individuality.
Okay.
My understanding of this proposal was to either get the sash approved to be ordered or to nix it, and then we would move to the next step of how the money would be gotten and where they would be shipped.
Okay, so we're moving to
Order in bulk.
order in bulk.
The sashes.
Through the officers. Order the sashes as outlined in the committee report. Sash with the logo from Pride Sash.
Correct.
2 sashes per court.
And they made a motion to amend it.
Yeah, their amendment was Pride Sash with the logo, I believe. Correct, Alameda?
I was right. The original motion was saying yes to order.
Yes.
We need to
We
clarify
ordered.
on what we were voting.
All right, so the motion is to order the sashes from Pride Sash with the logo. We'll order it all at one time in bulk for every court. Okay, roll call vote. You ready? Alameda, California. Aye. Alaska.
Aye.
Arizona.
Aye.
Austin, Texas.
Aye.
Buffalo, New York.
Aye.
Calgary, Alberta.
Aye.
Chico, Chico,
Aye.
Colorado Springs.
Aye.
Connecticut.
Aye.
Corpus Christi.
Aye.
Denver, Colorado.
Aye.
Everett, Washington.
Aye.
Fort Worth, Texas. Fresno, California.
Aye.
Halifax, Nova Scotia.
Aye.
Hawaii.
Aye.
Houston, Texas.
Stay.
Iowa.
Aye.
Las Vegas.
Aye.
Lexington, Kentucky.
Aye.
London, Newport.
Aye.
Los Angeles, California.
Aye.
Minnesota.
Aye.
Modesto, California.
No.
Nebraska.
Aye.
New York.
Aye.
Orange County, California.
Aye.
Portland, Oregon.
Aye.
Reno, Nevada.
Aye.
Sacramento, California.
Aye.
Salem, Oregon.
Aye.
Salt Lake, Utah.
Aye.
San Antonio, Texas.
Aye.
San Diego, California.
Aye.
San Francisco, California.
No.
San Jose, California.
No.
Seattle, Washington.
No.
Spokane, Washington.
No.
Stockton, California.
Aye.
Surrey, British Columbia.
Aye.
Tacoma, Washington. Toronto, Ontario.
Aye.
Vancouver, Washington.
No.
And Waco, Texas. All right, the tally. Tally's motion passes with a yes. And we will, as a group of Parliament officers, we will get some feedback and we'll also get information about how this is going to happen and keep you all informed on the progress of it.
Essentially, it is our duty to execute it, so we will be putting in a plan to procure and to the sashes. So please be watching your email and respond back when you email it to me.
That's fine then. All right, next on the agenda is the mission statement, as it was presented by the Trifold and Mission Statement Committee. Do I hear a motion of some sort regarding this mission statement?
Speaker of the House.
For it?
I would make a motion that we accept the mission statement as is.
All right, is there a second? right? He's putting a motion, we can second it, discuss it, and then actually send it back, but we need to put it somewhere on the floor. So it's motioned by Everett, is there a second just for the, okay, Las Vegas, second. So now let's discuss and figure out what we're really gonna do with this. I've got San Jose, Salt Lake City, San Jose.
Oh, just real quick, just clarification from the Queen Mother. I just think some of the verbiage, just tweaking it, and I think it, and the rest of it, I think it's fine. Just a couple words to be changed, that's all.
So are you?
I'm gonna say with
You want
a
to?
slight change in the verbiage with the Queen Mother's request, reflecting society, I believe is the word.
That sounds like an amendment, but I'd like to hold that. So I have Salt Lake City.
Motion to take it back to the committee to get it redone.
Yeah.
All right, that's a motion within a motion.
Mr. Speaker,
Wait.
stated
As is.
so you cannot make any amendments or
I know.
He has made it as is, what is presented for discussion.
We're in discussion, so I'm driving for a certain thing to happen. I like it, a certain thing to happen. I think most of you know what's going on here. So, Colorado Springs. We want to call the vote. Do we want to do this by voice or roll?
Mr. Speaker, I'd like to retract the motion.
The motion has been retracted. Thank you. Well, it's like trying to get a drag queen in the car. Thank you, distinguished gentleman from Everett. All right, the motion has been withdrawn. So now I'd like to, there's someone who has a motion here to send it back. Motion by Salt Lake to send it back to committee. Seconded by the entire room. Let's do it by voice. All in favor? Aye. Any oppositions? Any abstentions? That, ladies and gentlemen, is how we get business done in Her Majesty's Parliament. Thank you. The motion was made by Salt Lake City, seconded, I'll call Minnesota.
Just really quick, this committee was the trifold mission statement. They are still had a task of a trifold. Well, now they can take this back as well, and then next year when they come present, they'll have both parts of their committee hopefully ready.
Yes, and along that same line about the committees. I called earlier for a Blue Ribbon Task Force on Canadian and United States affairs. I also want to follow back up, and I'd like the fundraising committee to continue under the leadership of a distinguished representative from Corpus, in concert with other courts that are working with that committee. So the fundraising committee must continue. The membership committee, under the leadership of Austin and the leadership of, oh wait, JC's from Austin also. Under Austin will continue as well. Okay. I have a question for Fresno.
Mr. Speaker, I make a motion that the fundraising committee may be made a permanent standing committee of the Parliament.
There's a motion on the floor to make the fundraising committee a permanent standing committee on the Parliament. Seconded by Seattle. I think there's a good consensus. All in favor? Aye. Any oppositions? Any abstentions? And it's noted in the minutes. All right. So we've got the fundraising committee continuing. Thank you. Let's give ourselves a round of applause. That's San Francisco?
I would just like to, with the fundraising committee, we need everyone's contributions. Anyone who wishes to join our committee, especially our Canadian brothers and sisters, please join us. Our work can only move forward in a positive manner with your contributions. So please join us.
All right, there's a request from the committee members that those of you chapter clerks who want to join this committee, please join the committee. There's an outreach to the Canadian Canadian delegates to join the committee as well. Without you, it's not going to work. So that's all getting involved in this. We'll do sign-up sheets also. So those are kind of some administrative things that we're going to take care of here in a bit. Portland, do you have something?
Just a question on the committees. I know that my board of directors, because I'm on the board currently, they did not want me to be seated again. So this is my last meeting.
Why are there fishes out there?
So, So, my question is, signing up for a committee, is that allowed?
Yes.
Since I won't be a member
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, anybody in the international court system can be part of these committees of parliament because it's the committee chairs who are going to do it. Now, if you're not seated in the parliament, you can present at the parliament, but you can definitely have people involved in the committee.
Actually, anybody can be, not only just the members of the international court system, but anybody. And I also encourage, especially in the fundraiser, to look outside the international court system for ideas, which I know you have. But just to reiterate what our speaker said, and to address the question, anybody can serve on a committee.
All right, and lastly, one more committee I'd like to propose to this chamber. I'd like to have a committee to go over the guidebook and the guidelines that you have in front of you, from pages 14 through page 19. I would like a committee to work on that, to harmonize again some of the language. We've evolved in our third session here. So I'd like to ask for a chair of the Committee on Parliament Guidelines. I've got Waco, or you comment, or you're wanting to chair? Okay. Anybody from Canada who would like to join us? Parliamentary Guidelines Committee? I'll kind of leave it at that, but right now we'll have it chaired by the honorable member from Waco. We'll have that as a chair of the Guidelines Committee. And again, we're going to be sending around sign-up sheets and so forth, and we'll communicate after the session and throughout the next year to the next session. We will communicate information, solicitations for people to be part of these committees. The last bit that we wanted to take action on is actually, it's not a motion.
In your handbook, I do want to point out the 25 respondents, whether the members of parliament and the alternate member of parliament should wear a sash. The 17 responding yes and 8 responding no. We had 30 respondents about whether there should be only one sash per chapter or two, again, meaning would the alternate also be recognized. 13% responded yes, which that is phrased oddly. 13 of them responded yes, which would mean there would only be one sash, or 17 responded no, which means that there would be two sashes. So it's worded oddly, and I'm sorry about that. Generally, what we were getting from all of that is most members that responded do believe that the alternate members should be recognized along with the members of parliament. So we did take that into consideration. Speaking as a past alternate for the first 2 years and now a member, I'd like to thank you all for deciding on that. The other thing I'd like to pass along to you, we did get quotes on the sashes. You can find that on page 40 of your book, are the quotes that we did get on the sashes. I'm not going to read this to you, most of us know how to read. So I am going to quickly go down to where of the two companies that we approached about the sashes, based on 130 sashes, excuse me, based on 130 sashes, Pride Sash quoted us $3,250. The Sash Company quoted us $5,600. So I think there's a fairly obvious which one of those we should probably go with if we go with the Sash route. I know there is going to be some further discussion this afternoon concerning what exactly this body is going to entail as far as our medallions and sashes. We've now been going over this for 2 years, so I implore all of you that can we please make a decision on things. I'd now like to give the bulk of my time to the honorable gentleman from Fresno.
Thank you. In looking at this report, a lot of work was put into it, but last year with San Antonio
there was a hope that there would be medallions produced during that Parliament process. Part of, as you know, several of you know, we have these gift bags, which the Port of Fresno has put together to thank you, to welcome you to Fresno, and thank you for attending Parliament in Fresno this weekend. But the Port of Fresno is also giving Parliament and the Queen Mother a gift. We have taken the design for the medallions, and as a step forward, we've made it a reality. We've ordered and paid for 100 medallions for Parliament. We discuss a lot of these things, and trying to bring something to fruition into a reality for everyone is really difficult, and sometimes you just have to step into it and make it happen. And we didn't want to see another year go by where this is still sitting on the table during discussion. So we wanted to make this effort come true this year. So when it was brought to our attention, we seized the opportunity to go ahead and make it happen. So the medallions, unfortunately, we're not going to be able to be ready by this weekend. However, as soon as they are ready, then they will be routed through the various channels till they get to each and every one of you in your reports. So we're going to go ahead and pass these out to you. This is just a little token of our esteem. We have some postcards from Fresno because people have been saying they wanted some things from Fresno, some wine from one of our local wineries, some chocolates to go along with it, and some other information on Fresno, so we hope you enjoy it. So it'll just take us a few minutes to pass this out if you'll just indulge us and give us a couple minutes to get this.
All right, so let's hear it for the graciousness of the They budgeted for this Parliament session. They've offered you this wonderful space. I think we enjoyed the lunch, and then they bought us medallions. I think that's fantastic. I really much salute the Port of Fresno. Small note on the gift bags. We do not have a corkscrew available, so please refrain from opening the bottle until the end of the session. I know. I got one. I got one. All right, are there any questions? Before I open the floor for any questions regarding this design committee, I would like to point out that one of in summary for the design committee regarding the sashes, the consensus from the committee is coming back that each chapter court would pay for the sashes on their own. And I believe there was a couple prices that you included in there, Mr. Smith?
Yes, that's correct. Primarily what it breaks down to is each sash, if we go with a Pride sash, the company Pride sash, each sash would be about $20. $20 per sash.
All right, $20, very manageable. So let's keep that in the back of your heads. We want to take action on that if we choose to later on after we get done with the committee reports. We have one more committee report right now. Does anyone have any feedback for the design committee regarding the medallions and sashes? Your Majesty, any feedback, or do you want any comment? Okay.
Over here, what's that?
I hear, there we go. Member from San Jose. Oh yeah, San Jose's putting off their suggestion of the sash, which is our fur soft pillow ornaments here ahead of you. I think we could do fantastic right now. All right.
It's USB board.
Let's recycle. All right, let's bring it all down back together. We're going to go into our last committee meeting, or committee report, and then we can start taking some actions. Right now, I think we've gone a little bit far into the session. We've had some heavy information. I would love to entertain a motion for a recess. Alameda, and let's just make Chico seconds. All right, let's all take a 10-minute break, and we'll be back here at what time?
7 o'clock.
14:40, 2:40. We'll be back here. All in favor to close debate? Aye. Any opposed? No.
How many?
The motion to end debate has to pass by 2/3 majority? Yes, it does. So we're down to roll call vote. So please, everybody, think about this deeply. There's a motion to close debate on the sessions. Unless it's, all right, let's go to the vote. Alameda, California.
Nay.
Alaska.
Aye.
Arizona.
Aye.
Austin, Texas.
Aye.
Buffalo, New York.
Aye.
Calgary, Alberta.
Aye.
Chico, California. Colorado Springs.
Aye.
Connecticut.
Aye.
Corpus Christi.
Aye.
Denver, Colorado.
Aye.
Everett, Washington.
Aye.
Fort Worth, Texas.
Aye.
Fresno, California. Fresno. Halifax, Nova Scotia.
Aye.
Hawaii.
Aye.
Houston, Texas.
Aye.
Iowa.
Aye.
Las Vegas. Lexington. London, Newport.
Aye.
Los Angeles. Minnesota.
Aye.
Modesto.
Aye.
Nebraska.
Aye.
New York.
Aye.
Orange County.
Aye.
Portland, Oregon.
Aye.
Reno, Nevada.
Aye.
Sacramento.
Aye.
Salem, Oregon.
Aye.
Salt Lake, Utah.
Aye.
San Antonio, Texas.
Aye.
San Diego, California.
Aye.
San Francisco.
Aye.
San Jose.
Aye.
Seattle, Washington.
Aye.
Spokane, Washington.
Aye.
Stockton, California.
Aye.
Surrey, British Columbia.
Aye.
Tacoma, Washington.
Repeat. Aye. Thank you.
Toronto, Ontario.
Aye.
Vancouver, Washington.
Aye.
Winnipeg, Texas. 43 to 1, that's a supermajority, the debate is closed. Now, where are we moving from here, folks?
I'll tell you.
Wait, the speaker recognizes Her Majesty.
You don't recognize me.
Yes, ma'am.
I think this is something that we all can agree on. The honorable representative from Fort Worth brought to me that, and I don't think that you should wait a year for a mission statement, that they have gotten already together with the Canadians and worked out a mission statement so that you could vote on this mission statement before you leave. So this is some information I give you since I can't really, you know how that is. And stuff. Okay, so there you have it. I'm giving you this information. Is there another? Oh, man.
There's a point of order, hold on.
Isn't it kind of just like us Queens? And
That means, all right.
then we spend a half an hour on the sack.
Patience, we've got to clean it up. Okay, sir, from Tacoma, your motion to end debate has closed, and it is ended. That then opens the original motion from Portland, a motion to accept the price for the sashes, seconded by Austin, amended by Alameda? No. Nebraska amended. And Portland, did they accept the amendment? No. Okay, so right now, the current status is, there is a Portland motion to accept the price for the sashes, seconded by Austin. Nebraska has asked for a friendly amendment, for an amendment to accept the design with the logo from Pride Sash. Portland, do you accept that?
Yes.
It's accepted. Do we really want to discuss this or go to vote? Vote. Do we want to do this by roll call or by hands? All right, all in favor, aye? Or raise by show of hands, all in favor? And remember, one hand per court. All right, that's 32 votes. Nays, please raise your hands. Okay, so it's 11. Any abstentions? one abstention. All right, the tally of the votes is yes, to accept, what is it? To accept the design with the logo from Pride Sash, accepting the price for the sashes.
What was the vote turnout?
It was 32 yes, 11 nay, 1 abstention. Motion carries. Okay, let's move, let's keep moving. Adam, I don't think you were finished, or were you, or?
Well, no, I think that I would like to see this is the third session of Parliament that you leave with a mission statement, and the honorable representatives from Fort Worth stated that he had caucus during the break with Canadian representatives, and they've come up with a mission statement that could be voted upon.
All right, so this is an open floor. Is the member from Fort Worth offering a motion? There's a microphone behind you, sir.
I'm going to read the statement and leave it for the members here to make a motion. The change to the mission statement as a whole shall read: the International Court System Parliament, ICSP, is representation of partnership of charitable, tax-exempt, non-profit organizations and societies that is dedicated to promoting empowerment of people, continued support to local communities, and respect for cultural diversity. The ICSP focuses its funding on committed grassroots organizations that rely strongly on volunteer efforts and where the ICSP support will make the most significant difference. The ICSP is an international partnership of individual social, community, service organizations, and nonprofit societies bound together in shared structure, policies, and goals, serving Canada, Mexico, and the United States.
Okay, as a trade, Colorado Springs.
Mr. Speaker, I make a motion that we accept the mission statement as read. A second.
Seconded by Nebraska. Real quick, and this is just beyond marketing standards. I would like to ask, would it be amenable if it's, you say the International Court System Parliament, any after that, I would simply just refer just to Parliament, because you've already identified the source of it, instead of the ICSP. That's my recommendation, so I would just say ICSP Parliament, but that's, in the finalization, that's yours. So, discussion. Okay? So, let's go to vote. I don't necessarily think we want to do roll call, so I'll do it by hands. All those in favor of accepting this mission statement as read by the Honorable Delegate from Fort Worth, Arlington? That's a lot of hands.
You should have went the other way first.
I always go the other way first. Oh, that's 44. I believe that is the unanimous decision. All right. I do not want to go much longer. This is open time. I know there's a couple people that might have something, so let's really try and do this as quickly as we can. Open time. Who wants to say anything? I have Iowa. Thank you, sir.
Oh, okay, there it goes. One of the things that I want to talk about that I have discussed with Nicole before, and I've talked about in Nebraska, when I am not doing this, I work for a major insurance company. And one of the things that I want to discuss is your insurance coverage. I'm not a licensed agent, so I'm not going to tell you what to do. But what I am going to tell you is that Nicole's mentioned again today that someone walked off with $10,000. Now, I don't care what court it is, I don't care what society you are, $10,000 is a lot of money. And $10,000 could mean a difference as to whether or not your organization survives or not. I know that a lot of us are insured, and you probably all have liability. There is coverage out there that is designed specifically for our type of organization. And I'm sure that in Canada, it works the same way with your societies. There is insurance coverage out there that covers fiduciary responsibility, which means that if that $10,000 walks away, the insurance company will reimburse you for it. That being said, if you know who walked off with that $10,000, there has to be a police report filed, which means that hopefully in the future, that won't happen again. I can't stress enough how important it is that we are insured, that we are covered. I know that my friends in San Antonio have even went beyond that and are bonded. We need to look at the coverage so that in the event that something horrible happens, it doesn't come back upon your board of directors to be financially responsible for covering any catastrophe. So all I have to say about that is, please, if you have insurance, go through it, look at what you have. You'll be surprised at how affordable it actually is to completely cover your organization. If you're not insured, get with an agent and get some coverage. It's the only way that you're going to protect your assets and your board of directors' assets and your organization's assets. Thank you.
Colorado Springs, and then we'll entertain Connecticut or Colorado Springs. We'll entertain Colorado Springs. Okay, we'll entertain Connecticut.
As a court that's had this happen to us twice, we've been embezzled twice. If it wasn't for insurance, if it wasn't for filing with the police and pressing charges and having the appropriate coverage, we would not have been able to have filed claims and been able to we were able to. One suit, we actually got money back from the person who embezzled it, and the second one, they chose not to press charges, and we did get reimbursed from the insurance company. So, taking it from experience, I just wanted to piggyback on and say, get it, please.
May I ask what happened, because this concerns me too, because I think we know many a times that there's embezzlement or theft, and then the person still has their title and position. What happened to the person, and were they monarchs, or what were they?
In the first situation, it was the treasurer. She was not a monarch. She was arrested, and she had fled.
So she wasn't a monarch?
No, the second one was a monarch.
What happened to her?
And she was removed from office. She was no longer part of our lineage, no longer.
And that's what I would urge, because sometimes it's very uncomfortable to go to some of your empires. And I know that there was this queen that stole money from your court, and she still has all that's not such a bad message. So I commend you for it. It's a hard thing to do, but you have to do it because it's just the right thing to do. Thank you.
Colorado Springs.
Mr. Speaker of the House, I would request at this time that we form a committee for the Parliament to become supportive of these functions. In essence, what I'm asking for is a few of us to get together and figure out ways to raise funds to help pay for these events, be it Parliament, be it SASHers, pins, but I just feel that we need to start that process.
So let's call this a Parliament Operating Expenses Committee. Would you be willing to chair that?
Yes, sir.
All right, the distinguished gentleman from Colorado Springs is willing to chair a committee on Parliament operating expenses. The committee is formed. We have a chair. We will do sign-ups. I'm going to ask all the delegates to really think about this. I think there's a lot of you out there who I know personally can raise a crap load of money in a really quick amount of time. So I'll leave you guys to do that.
Let me just speak to that really quick. Currently, right now, all our funding does come from the ICC. And this is something that any committee that we do create, we will have to work hand in hand with it because we are not our own body. We have no bank accounts. Anything we get, we do go through the ICC. So I just want to make sure that that is in mind. You're not going to start handing out money or anything. That's not what Parliament was created to do. You are right. We need to pay our own way, but we need to do it with the help of the ICC. And a good example might be selling T-shirts and doing something with them to help their fundraising contributions. But again, that's something. Yeah, you're right. That is something that will come out of the committee. But I do want to point that we are not.
Well, most certainly, funds raised by the ICC, by Parliament would be earmarked by the ICC. That's your funds, wise. And so whatever money that is called, restricted funds, funds. So any money that you raise, obviously the ICC, as we're one body, would oversee it, but it's your money. You do what you will with it. It'll be what is called, we all know, earmark. It's earmark money and funds.
Okay, and along with that, thank you, the distinguished, honorable member from Colorado Springs. I need to add a little bit to this committee, and I'm calling for a Canadian co-chair of this committee because we're dealing with funds, we're dealing with money. Societies need to have some sort of understanding on that, so I'm asking for a delegate from Canada to co-chair this committee. Sir, thank you very much, sir. All right. Okay, next up, San Francisco.
I just wanted to take a quick second to say thank you to our host city, Fresno. You've done fabulous today.
I think it was a great night. Okay, anybody else for open offerings? I recognize the distinguished, or the honorable member from Fresno.
Thank you. We were talking about things earlier, talking about communications and marketing, but I think within an organization we need to have a communications committee as well as standing committees. There are some difficulties within this organization of communicating with each other, as well as of communicating with our within the organization of the ICS itself. For instance, I've become aware of difficulties between ourselves and the ICC, or in other entities. We have internal communication problems as well as external. We also need to train our public and our communities and our courts on who we are and how we function and what we do. Without that knowledge, they don't know how this benefits them. They may not even want to be part of this or contribute to this. So communication is really important, and we need to find venues and vehicles to be able to communicate properly, and also because we're supposed to be the ones being the voice and having our finger on the pulse of what's going on. We need to find better ways to communicate within this organization, within our function.
Okay, there's a call for a committee on communications, if I'm understanding, and just to clarify, that communication is in and among Parliament members to the ICC as well as to the titular head, or
Yes.
and back and forth. Even flow communication?
An even flow of communication, both within, between us and the ICC, between us and the Queen Mother, also between us and the courts. I know we're supposed to be communicating with our courts, but what do we communicate to our courts? Do we have the knowledge to take back and tell them what happens with that?
Okay, I'd like to.
There's already a protocol. I agree with you. I think the communication, when it comes to my office and the offices of the heirs and the council, the protocol's already there. That is, these officers communicate. I think what is really the problem is the internal communication and the external to the empires and communities and courts you serve. I think that is where there needs to be maybe this committee to think that these are the gentlemen that communicate. And trust me, I think you all know, if you see my messages, and I think you see them often, I have my phone number, I'm crazy, my email and everything, and you do communicate. Trust me, you do. But I always be open, but the protocol is to your officers, to this council and myself.
Okay, I hear and acknowledge what Her Majesty is saying. I hear and acknowledge what Fresno is saying. I'm also, in my head, I'm going through the process of how we put this Parliament together and working with the Dove Corps, us as officers, working with the ICC for the funding and so forth. So, I think what I want to do, what I think may be a better solution that's going to work, is I will commit to this entire chamber and to Her Majesty as well as to the Council that we as officers, we worked together seamlessly for 6 months, and we're getting better. We found avenues of communication. We learned quite a lot in the last couple of months. We definitely learned a hell of a lot today. So I'm going to commit to you that we're going to take this out, not in committee, but as officers, we're going to work on that continuity. We're going to work, number one, on the continuity of continuing the session, where we are able to take what we've learned from this session. We're going to try and find everything we learned from San Diego, everything we learned from San Antonio, what we have from Fresno, and we're going to allow it to continue. And we also found today, in a lot of discussions both about the fundraising committee and the membership committee, that we know that there are some communication challenges, and we know how to fix them. Because there were tools that were in place that were never continued on to those folks of you in the room who are brand new to this process. And those folks who in the room who have been here for all 3 sessions also understand that there's little bits of communication that we can clean up. So we are, as I'm speaking on behalf of the rest of the officers, we're making a commitment to all of you to maintain that communication continuity.
But let me say something. What you brought up is very important, and this is what I'd like to see. The truth is, this session has been outstanding, and I think you all know. I mean, you've commented to me and so on. I think this is, you know, as I said, with 3 coronations, the next session will probably have 50 sanctuaries. And this is going to be a solid foundation. But you want to know something? You are the ambassadors and you have that knowledge. The problem is, and reflecting to the representative from Fresno, is you don't tell anyone. You'll go on the internet and chit chat about, and great, happy birthday, or girlfriend, look who got a new crown, or anything. You need to go on that internet, Aquanet, whatever it's called, and you need to talk about it, your experience. You need to say, I just returned. There are, how many are here right now?
58 people.
58 people. So I would hope that with that enthusiasm and that which you've been conveying to me of the success of this, you go on that internet and say, oh, let me tell you my perspective of Parliament. Do you not think that our 68 cities across these 3 great nations, upon seeing one testimony as it were, you need to go out and shout on the mountaintops about Parliament and that the work you do and how it is you are building Parliament. So since you are the builders, talk about how this construction is coming along. That's what's going to get the courts excited. That's what you're going to get your boards to realize that this is important. Don't keep this feeling, and you should all feel very prideful, because I'm very proud of you, Wise, and your accomplishments in gathering here today. Let the world know what happened here. Don't keep it in this ballroom. Go out into the Aquanet and let them all know.
Thank you very much, Your Majesty. And before I take comments, I will commit to you, to all of you, that by the brunch on Sunday, being the officers, we will have created a press release statement for all of you about the accomplishments that we have performed here at this 3rd session. We will have it on the internet. We'll try to come back for you so that you can physically take it on Sunday after the brunch. We'll get it out both electronic and formal and paper. So you guys have it, and you'll have the right message that you can take to your courts. And we will continue to improve on our communications. Okay? I see San Francisco, Portland, San Jose. San Francisco?
I was going to ask, is there some way that we can quickly get something out? You know, even to get the minutes from the session.
Absolutely.
Out to us in a very expedient way, so we're not waiting months or...
Right. I'll commit to the minutes by the end of, by next week. Give us 7 days. I'll commit to the minutes. We're all going to work on that together. You have brain surgery?
On Monday.
You don't just need brain surgery. Okay, Portland?
Well, I just like to elaborate on something Nicole said was, we're coming out of this meeting positive feedback from everyone that was here, and we're going to go back to our rounds. What I'd like to expand on is possibly in the future, one meeting a year. I see where Nicole wants the Parliament to go. One meeting a year is not going to cut it. We leave here all hyped up, and we go back to our rounds, and we go, great, we're having a, this is what the goal is, and then by the time the next session's come around, we're all low key, and then we get in here and we have ideas and stuff, and then we go home and rah, and then we lose fizzle after 2 months, 3 months. We need to continue, maybe have another meeting, 2 meetings a year. The heirs have 3 and 4 meetings a year. And when the heirs started, that was something that was being done once, maybe twice a year. And now it's, I think every other month the heirs are having a meeting. We as Parliament members need to have more than 1 meeting a year. Just a thought.
Okay. San Jose?
Just real quick, I think the most important thing, I think everyone agrees, that mission statement, is that going to be available to print as soon as possible so we can get it out there?
It will be on the Yahoo group. If you're not part of the Yahoo group, make sure you do get registered, please.
Thank you.
All right, I'm going to close open floor because we still have to bid on where we're going to meet next year. We're running a little bit behind, so I'm going to ask your indulgence. We're going to allow all of the bidding chapter courts to present. They each have 5 minutes. We will not go into discussion because these courts have put work in.
Have your email address listed on the airport website. Please just write your name, your email address, and a yes. And your port. Yeah, and your chapter port. So I'll be sending that around here in a few minutes, but I just wanted to ask you guys first. Thank you.
All right, once again, just a clarification on this. This is an opt-in. If you don't do anything, your email address will not appear on the in-court website. I just remind you, it's a public domain, it's accessible by anyone, that's why we want to be sensitive to folks. Denver?
I guess, we want to know, since we're new members, what will we be getting,
I'm sorry, say it again?
Since we're new members, will we be getting, emails from you and something?
If you give us your address.
Actually, and that's a good point.
Some of us are new members that are new members.
Yeah, and that's a great question. We'll also put another list for any brand new members who are, this is their first session, or for any current members who have not yet signed up. Almost all of the Parliament business done outside this meeting is done through our Yahoo group. And you can ask any of these people, that thing is buzzing. And the reports are put on there, any stats is put on there. So what I need all of you to please do as soon as, while you're signing up for this, if you are not part of the Yahoo group, to come see myself or AJ or any of us and make sure you get the information to sign into the Yahoo group so we can send you that invitation. Because this is actually where a lot of the business of Parliament takes place outside the session.
All right, and then I will tell you, we're looking forward to the 4th session of Parliament. We will be putting an email opt-in checkbox on the certification forms for which you certify for the 4th session. So they'll be, starting now and moving forward, we're giving you guys the opportunity to opt into this type of listing, but if you take no action, we won't force it upon you. All right? Any comments or questions? Okay. We're now into open floor time. So what I'd like to do, the next big part of our business that we have to do is the 2011 4th session of Her Majesty's Parliament. Each court that has put a bid in is going to be given 5 minutes to do their presentation. We'll allow about 5 minutes for question and answer, and then we'll call for votes on that. So we will start that at exactly 4:30. So we have, what time is it right now? It is 3:41. We have about 45 minutes for open floor time. I think we probably want to take a short recess, maybe buy a break. All right, so before we make a motion for recess, I want to remind you, we're going to take a break for a short time, and then we're going to come back here and have about half an hour for open floor discussion. May I ask all of you for some patience? We're going to want to listen to each other. This is your chance for ideas. So I'll entertain a motion for a recess. From Modesto, seconded by Halifax. And let's go ahead and all in favor? Aye. All right, let's go ahead and take a seat, please. All right, let's all have our seats, please. Ladies and gentlemen, in reviewing the transcripts of our previous seating, in reviewing the transcripts, I realized that in all the noise going on around the design committee submission and bill offering and motion, there were actually a couple things that were not, there was some unfinished business as far as those motions goes, and we also voted on such, even though they were open motions. Under the rules, that makes that vote invalid. Not to decry what we did, and your aye votes are noted, your aye votes are understood, but there's also some comments that came back not only to us, the cadre, the Parlament officers, but also back to Her Majesty the Queen Mother. So, while I don't necessarily, I'll be honest with y'all, I'm not going back to what we had before. So what I'm going to do, we're going to move forward right now. I'd like to offer the floor to Her Majesty, Empress Nicole the Great.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Sometimes members of Parliament, and I understand, sometimes it's your first session, sometimes there's concern of where you feel a little comfortable in speaking out. I would urge you to know that this is the third session, has been running just absolutely outstanding, and everyone has been very courteous and respectful to each other. But a concern has been brought to me that must be considered and wise, and this is from the Parliament, concerning the sashes. And what was brought up is that the leather community wears sashes, and we have many members of the leather community involved in our coronations and our courts. And as we all know, the leather communities are known for the title holders wearing sashes. And according to some of their protocol, and we all know protocols, because we all have our own too, the leather sash is a phenomenon, and the only sash that is to be on the leather title holder. There's also the rodeo. The rodeo also have sashes. And they must be respected in their protocol. And if they're at a coronation, they're going to be, should I wear my rodeo sash or my Parliament sash? Wise. And then, third, there's the civic title holders. Mr. and Ms. Pride, Ms. San Diego, I'm talking about Empire, and all these Mr. California, Mr. Oregon, Miss Oregon, Miss nothing, all that stuff. So, I would just, and it's my prerogative. Because it's Her Majesty's Parliament, I love that title. You can just call me Madge. At this late hour. I'm just curious on a straw vote, explaining this, and once again, vote the way you want. This is a straw vote, which does not count. I'm just trying to figure this out. How many of you are still in support of sashes? And that's okay. So count those so we can know how many.
Okay, so we have 30.
Okay, so we have 30, that's right. Okay, now, this is what you call bribery. Or no, an alternative, which wasn't presented to you, and I talked to our officers. What's been brought to me was this beautiful medallion, which can be all made in black. Right now,
Madam, you can use our page as a model.
Okay. So, you see this, and my heir, and we were going to start considering these, we were honestly waiting for the heirs wise. We were going to get all these stones in black and then put the medallion of the heirs. But to me, this might be a pretty good idea for members of Parliament. And the heirs are probably going to shoot me, but so I would say that you choose the color, and all these would be either black or maybe we can get gray, which is I think, or red, that's part of the thing. and then they put the medallion here, which would be your office, which might work. So I'm just here for another alternative. I'm not the one that's going to be wearing the sash or the medallion. Wise. So now that I can use this alternative, I'm just curious, how many of you like this idea? No, and even if you vote for the sash, you kind of like this one. I'm just curious to see. So why don't you count both? I kind of like this. To me, this is more keeping in the court. You know what I'm saying? Really bling bling. You know. Hands on the ground. Hands on the ground.
All right.
How many was that?
We got 34.
Okay, so we're going to redo this again. I trust it's just a strong. So those of you that want sashes, and you should. You want sashes, stick with your sashes. Or we like this alternative of putting the seal of Parliament there, and then then you were allowed to vote twice in the straw vote, which has no effect. Twice, which is so. All those of you that would like the sashes, raise your hand. I think that you like this idea only because you know the heirs were about to choose this. Why do I have that feeling? And you just want to snatch them from their little hands, Lord. They're about to get them. No, you won't, Queen. Okay. So, how many of you like this idea for members of Parliament? Don't you count those? And then I apologize, I didn't say for those two that abstained. No, we have to say, hey, we'll go anyway.
38.
38. And then what was the other number for the sashes?
It went 30 to 34 to 38, and then we had how many on the sash?
3 on our side.
3, and we had 4 on the side. May I answer your question?
No. So then how many are, this is it, we're going to take one, how many just abstained on the vote? And see, so I knew there would be, to me, there would be some, so then you'd be going with either way. You're called what we call flip-flops versatile, okay? All right, so I mean, this is just like for your considerations, but you've seen how it's all turned with a vast majority now like with the little bling, which, as I said, this is what you're going to be wearing, not I, so the floor is back to you.
So actually, I'd like to redirect my question. Those folks who voted that they like the sash, would you be opposed to wearing the bling?
I don't wear black.
Oh, you don't wear bling? Okay, that's all. Sorry.
You know, I'm calling it a bling, but in all due respects, this is actually...
Yeah, it's a chain of office.
It's a chain of office, which is totally different. It's not, I call it bling, but
okay.
It's a chain of office.
Comments really short. I'm going to go San Antonio to Orange County to Connecticut to Everett to Austin. San Antonio.
With all due respect, along the same lines as that, yes, there are other organizations that wear sashes. I wear other medallions. I have my Emperor medallion, and I have a medallion from Castle I belong to. So I would be putting two medallions on top of each other if I would wear that. So it doesn't solve the problem for myself. I realize I'm one person, not seven.
Orange County.
As a medallion would typically hang more straight off your neck, the way that's positioned, it would conflict for any emperor wearing a mantle.
Okay.
Yeah, shoulder pads also.
Okay. Colorado Springs. I'm sorry. I apologize. Connecticut.
Also, for the sash, it was $25. My concern is going back to my organization asking them to pay. I assume that's $25.
It will be about $10 to $15.
Yeah, maybe cheaper. Cheap. Everett?
I was just going to say, prior to me attending Parliament, my board of directors has already approved the sash medallion as is.
Okay.
So to amend it, I would have to change it.
Okay, Austin?
I just wanted to point out that it seemed to me earlier that the reason why we were having such a debate was because we were having issues with whether our courts were going to pay for it or not. regardless of what we get, I don't care what I wear, I don't have to wear anything, but our court's gonna have to pay for it. So let's make up our mind and stick to something.
Okay, Colorado Springs?
My other concern in reference to sash was basically, it says, if I'm understanding, it has the emblem of Parliament on it, and it has the thing, it's something different. It's not another bling item. All of us have that. We have our emperor crowns, our shoulders, our pins, and everything else. It's something to cause conversation. I haven't heard of that. What is that? It's a way for us to distinguish ourselves and spread the word. That was my actual concept, understanding of the sash.
Corpus? Okay, Corpus?
Clarification on the design. I know there was talk that it was not necessarily going to be a sash that went across the body, but something that went around the back of the neck. Did that change, or what was the, maybe I'm confused about something?
Yes and no, and I'll wait to answer. Salt Lake City?
I can answer that. The design is actually a stole where it comes off the
Stole.
neck and hangs down.
Yes.
It doesn't come across, it's just hangs down. Like a priest.
Like, yes. Okay. I'm going to take these last two and we're going to close this discussion because I'm going to actually ask the body to do something. San Jose?
No disrespect to the Queen Mother, but doesn't changing this by a straw poll kind of undermine the purpose of Parliament?
No. Okay, now due respect. I did say, you didn't even
You said
listen
straw
to me.
poll.
No, the straw poll has no effect whatsoever. It was just seeing a consensus. And I gotta tell you, I want to apologize. I should never stuck my little nose into this because now it's even become a crazier thing. Why? Because actually what the representative from San Antonio said was correct. I mean, what I'm thinking, and I respect those members of the leather community and a rodeo that came up about the sash, but in another way, there's also medallions that are worn by our court. So I didn't say, never mind, I didn't say anything.
All right. Last comment, Tacoma?
I simply ask my honored delegates to remember that to distinguish between convenience or preference and those of us in other communities, we're not asking the ICS to change who and what they are, but there are those of us who cannot wear a sash. So whether it is leather, whether it is a current civic title holder, whether it's a rodeo title holder, we cannot, according to our protocols, wear a sash. And I would simply ask the other delegates to consider that.
All right, so I'm going to ask the chamber, what do you guys want to do with this? Number one, there were open motions on the floor that were never addressed earlier during the earlier convention. We went to vote. Technically, according to Robert's rules, that invalidates the vote. It does not invalidate your feelings, it does not invalidate your emotions, it does not invalidate what the design committee has done. However, technically, the vote was not complete, there's stuff open. So how do you want to deal with this? All right, I want you guys to, San Jose?
I motion maybe we just send it back for review.
Perfect. There's a motion. I know, I understand, Mr. Smith, I know. It's aggravating, it's the third time. And I'm going to, there's a motion on the floor, so I'll take the motion. Is there a second? Everett. Now, before you go all launch into discussion, I'd like to address the delegation from San Antonio.
Not just San Antonio.
Or the design committee. It is a very touchy subject. We understand it's a touchy subject. There are far more touchy subjects than this. Okay? This is a process. It's painful, but the end results are going to be something that works with all of us. Okay? Again, it will be painful. Now, you can choose to stay on the committee or you can choose to not. You can choose to do whatever you want with the committee. But let's remember that the body is asking for a better rendition of what's happened. Mr. Smith?
This will never be decided.
Okay.
This will never, we will never please everyone in this room. I can guarantee you, we will never please
Okay.
everyone in this room.
All right. So, One more thing on this discussion, and then I will actually open up very shortly for discussion. The Imperial Dove Court de Fresno Madera has graciously given every seated member of this room medallions. We could go with that for right now and redirect the sashes where, I don't know, it's up to you, it's up to your committee. So, source for discussion. Alameda?
Look,
Oh.
I'm wearing a sash and a medallion. So I apologize again, you see, I'm on both sides. I stepped into this, all right, I'm both sides.
All right. Alameda?
Just my opinion, because obviously this has been going on for 3 years now. And going along with what you said, Fresno has, I don't have any words for thanking Fresno for what they did as far as finishing the medallion issue. I feel that this body, you're gonna get your medallion. If you wanna put it on a piece of rope, put it on a piece of rope and wear it however you want.
Okay.
It doesn't necessarily have to be attached to a sash or a string or anything. Like, put it on your ankle, I don't care. Just as long as you represent Parliament when you're out. So the sashes, to me, they're kind of trivial right now.
Okay. I can't see your Hawaii H. Allen. No. East.
My suggestion would be do both and decide what you want to wear. Make it both items part of your court. If you want to wear the sash, wear the sash. If you want to wear just a medallion like that, wear the medallion. There's nothing saying you can't have two styles of dress at a coronation.
And Sally?
Why don't you give the information on how to order the medallions for future Parliament
We have that.
sessions and the sashes, and let each chapter decide what their representatives are going to do.
That would probably be a little. I understand where you're going. I'm not so sure that would work, but I do understand where you're going. Next, anybody else? Modesto?
The sashes have been ongoing for the last 3 years, and I think it was discussed for Parliament members to be more in a uniform body when it comes to coordinations or representing you guys in the Parliament. Go with the sashes. If you don't want to wear them, don't wear it. But let's get this going. Gotta get this taken care of now.
Portland?
On the same thing that he just said, but to add to it, the heirs weren't too pleased about those red robes either. So no offense.
Hey, you notice I'm in velvet, they're in polyester.
Rain Catholic's privileges.
But we need to make a decision regardless. I mean, today we had something that was presented, we made a motion, and I understand that because of certain issues that you're saying that the vote turnout was not considered,
According to now, hear me out. Technically, it's invalid. However, if you guys also want to stay with the vote, we can stay with the vote. But technically, you want to redo the vote? San Diego.